Welcome to On Air by Yoga for First Responders. This is Eric Brenneman, one of your co-hosts of the show. I'm here to introduce you to our special Father's Day edition of On Air, where I get to have a real conversation with Marc Maikoski, current firefighter and father. We share some funny stories, we shed some tears, we laugh, we cry. I mean, you can't expect anything else at this point from this podcast. That's what you come to expect and why you tune in. Know that the audio to start with is a bit choppy on Marc's end as he is coming to us from a mission trip in Mexico, but we get it figured out. And so the audio gets much better at about the 7 to 10 minute mark. So just stick with it. And that's where the real meat and potatoes of the episode start anyway. So feel free to skip to that moment and tune in. For those fathers out there, happy Father's Day. And also know that Father's Day can be kind of difficult for folks depending on your childhood and your current situation. And so just know that I see that and I see you, and these days can be hard. And so I just wanted to make that known as we get into our show.
Welcome to Yoga for First Responders On Air, where we break down yoga, neuroscience, resilience, and public safety in a manner that's authentic, educational, and most importantly, entertaining and lighthearted. I'm YFFR's founder, Olivia Mead. As a yoga instructor and neuroscience enthusiast, I'm passionate about supporting first responders and anyone looking to improve their overall human performance. Each week, we'll dive into a new topic and often bring on expert guests to share their insights and experiences. But we'll also keep it real and share our own stories and struggles along the way. So whether you're a first responder or seeking to master the science of mental and physical resilience, this podcast is your ultimate guide to triumph over life's challenges with unbreakable strength and unwavering fortitude. By pressing play, your training has begun.
No, I truly appreciate you showing up from. Are you allowed to say where you're at? I just want to cover ground rules with your work and that kind of stuff. Make sure I don't step on any toes.
Definitely.
Okay. No, I was going to say I appreciate you showing up from Mexico to do a special Father's Day edition podcast with me, which means you're away from your kids.
Actually, my wife is here with me. This was supposed to be. Yeah, so
Okay.
the cool thing about this trip that I'm on is the organization down here with actually came up with this this mission style so that you can bring kids down here as well. They do mission trips on, but this is one that allows you to bring kids on. So there's 6-year-old kids down here helping us build houses. It's really cool.
That's awesome, man. No, I love it. I love it. Full surprise to everybody out there. I booked my first vacation to Mexico. First vacation in 7 years coming up. Like, Olivia and I are going to take a break.
Wow. Congratulations. Where are you going?
Actually, Jess Gannon, part of our team. Yeah, no. Jess Gannon, part of our team, she and her husband have timeshares down in the Tulum area of Mexico.
Oh,
and
cool.
They invited us to go along and get a room at their place. So we're going to take 5 days to just like shut it down in October.
Solid. Turn it off.
Dude, we haven't, no joke. When this came up, I started doing the math backwards. We took a 2-day vacation in 2018. That's the last time we took a vacation or time away. So
Wow.
It'll be awesome. So I'm not building houses while I'm going down there, Marc. I'm going down there to literally just turn it off for 5 days.
Well, my previous trip to Mexico was about 6 months ago, and it was for a healing retreat, and that definitely had a different vibe to it, but it was everything that I needed. Mexico is my happy place right now. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. I'll be going alone at this point because Olivia does not have her passport in order. So she, when she listens to this episode, this is her reminder to TikTok because October is only 4 months away and the State Department's got to get their stuff done. So,
yeah, get it done.
So, right? Yeah, no, totally. So I asked you last minute and our good friend Jeremy Sanders. He was not able to make it because of it being so last minute. If you would want to come on and do a special Father's Day episode, because we're recording this a couple of days before, but Sunday, when this is going to air today, is Father's Day. So, Mark, prematurely, but as people hear this, happy Father's Day, sir.
Thanks. Same to you, Eric. It kind of not by coincidence, but Jeremy and I had also talked about prior to this message of getting together and doing something along this lines as well on the Career First Culture podcast. So that one's in the works as well, and hopefully we'll be recording soon on that one. On the home side of things for first responders. So it's right, almost like a precursor. So
Yeah, totally. Because I pulled together 5 questions. This is going to be a shorter episode for those that pay attention to our podcast. Sometimes we get a little long-winded and go for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, but I told Mark when I was doing this, knowing where he was at and what he's up to, that we'll keep this one shorter in that probably 45 minutes range. But yeah, I came up with 5 questions, and the lens that I wanted to come through was that you're currently on the job and have been on the job, I think, basically the entire time you've had kids. So your kids don't know much different.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm coming from the lens.
My second child, actually, I was working on the ambulance when she was born and had to come on to witness the birth of my second child. So you're right on point with that.
So you're literally at work for her entire life.
Yes.
In that case. And I'm coming through the lens that I have a 2.5-year-old at home, but obviously not on the fire department anymore. So from a little bit different lens from, I don't want to say stay-at-home dad, but choices have been made to make sure that I'm around that little girl as much as possible at this point. And it's not by coincidence. It's not by accident. Made some pretty hard and strong choices to get to where we are at today, including leaving the fire department. It wasn't because of kids that I left the fire department. I don't want anybody to hear that wrong. But it's an unintended consequence that now I get to be home more with her. But that doesn't mean we don't have funny stories along the way. So this podcast, sometimes we get a little bit serious on it. I do have a couple of serious questions that we're going to reminisce on. I haven't thought about the questions either. I use technology and Olivia to help me come up with the questions. So I have not ruminated on these questions at all either, Mark. So this is going to be pretty like real time, off the cuff. We're going to read the question and we're going to kind of hit it as we go along. So that's the plan.
The only way I know how to do it. So.
All righty. Also, congratulations. I mean, for those of you that don't know, Mark was recently on Behind the Shield with James Gearing. And the only reason I make that call out is because, golly, do you think he's the #1 podcast in public safety? If not, he's got to be damn close.
Yeah, probably. I would venture to say yes. And it's a lot because yes, and the topics he talks about, they're all, but he's the voice of those that can't really speak for themselves. So
yeah, totally. James is a fantastic podcaster, interviewer. If you haven't had the chance to listen to his podcast, it's Behind the Shield with James Gearing. We'll hit with a hard question. The questions don't necessarily go in any order per se. So question number 1, here we go. What's one moment as a father that hit harder than any call you ever responded to?
Wow. Oh man, there's so many, to tell you the truth. There's a lot that hits hard with 4 kids. So I'm gonna have to think back and I'm gonna go recent. Yeah. My youngest daughter, she graduated a couple years ago, and as we all do when we graduate, try to figure out what we're gonna do in life. And she initially made a decision that she was going to go to school pretty far from home. We lived in Georgia, and she was going to go to school in Idaho. Her first semester didn't go too good, so she ended up coming home, and then ultimately decided that she was going to work a little bit, but wanted to go back out to school. And we kind of advised her against it, and she wanted to listen to her friends more than she wanted to listen to us.
Sure.
And we had another instance where that didn't work out good, so she came home and still didn't feel comfortable at home and felt that somewhere else was calling her. And we told her it wasn't the best decision, but she decided to go anyways, and ended up paying some pretty hard life tuition and learned some pretty quick life lessons.
Yeah.
Ultimately, she's back home now. So to let her kind of make her own decisions was a pretty hard concept for us, and
Sure.
for her to rely on the opinions of others and post things on social media and not really talk things over with mom and dad or listen to what we had to say uh, was a little bit of a piece of humble pie for us to swallow,
Yeah.
and kind of hard to let her go and make her own decisions and make her own mistakes. But ultimately, it's right now it's a good spot for her.
Yeah.
She's been through a lot, but she's safe at home. So
Good. Good.
that's probably one of the most recent things that we've gone through.
Yeah, totally, right? Like, and your people are going to listen and be like, oh man, like that shouldn't be anything worse than any call you've been on. But when it's your family, it hits totally different, right? And
Right.
it's so hard I can only imagine. Like I can only imagine because obviously Ray's only 2.5, but as a parent, like I believe that as a parent, like a good parent, you have let her make her own choices. You let her do her thing, but your arm was always around her. So when she stumbled, you'd be there. But she has to learn
Oh,
how she had to stumble, right? You can't, and she wasn't going to listen to you anyway. Let's be honest.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's the hardest thing. You, as a first responder, you feel like you can be there to fix everybody else's problems when all too often the wheels are coming off at home while you're out solving the world's problems. So,
Right. Yeah, and uh, yeah, and sometimes we dive into that because things aren't necessarily great at home, right?
right.
So, um, I'm new into the parenthood journey, and so as I reflect back, like honestly, the part that for me that has hit the hardest so far is just like having her. Like we have a board here in our house that like rotates. It has our schedule on it because our schedule, as you know, Mark, is just nuts, and so it
Yes.
combines Olivia's calendar, my calendar, and Aurelia's calendar now because she has social events between swim lessons and music class and things like that. And so just keeping everything organized. But one of the pictures on it is the literally the first picture of the three of us together with Olivia, Aurelia, and myself. And um, Olivia has a hell of a birthing story that did not go anywhere according to the plan or our plan. And it turns out that was the first lesson of a strong, independent little girl. Uh, but the picture, like to see her running around and talking full sentences now, but to think back to the fact that when she was born, that she literally fit between my elbow and my wrist, and the wisdom in her eyes in that first moment as the three of us are together in that photograph is um yeah, just earning the title of dad, I guess, earning the title of father hit harder than anything that I ever did on the job, and changed life completely. So this goes into the being at home. Okay. So how has being a firefighter specifically shaped how you parent?
Oh, wow. That's
I know we're hitting hard, man.
you
Just
are hitting hard. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find a quiet place.
all good,
Um,
especially when I'm throwing fastballs in there. These aren't softball questions coming in.
yeah. Um, all right. Repeat the question. Let's go
Yeah,
again.
yeah. How is being a firefighter, specifically in your case, shaped how you parent? And
Oh,
I'm sure it's got good and bad. And there's some tidbits here. It says think about things like hypervigilance, problem solving, stress management, being more present, things like that. So
um,
it can be all kinds of things.
yeah, I think that hypervigilance is a good place to go with that. I remember there's a few Sentinel calls in my career that few Sentinel calls in my career that or sentinel calls because of the place where my kids were or the stage they were in their life when I ran those calls, and they closely associated to what my kids were doing at the time. So,
Yeah. And so then so you took those calls, I imagine, and then went home and got very,
um,
like, were you overprotective at that moment? Or is it like, how did that
no,
play out?
yeah, I guess I could say I was overprotective. I remember there was one call in specific that really affected me because my son was going through some depression and some trauma. He was in middle school at the time, and everybody knows how difficult that middle school age is.
Right.
So he was going through his own personal struggles, and we ended up running a call on a kid about his age that died by suicide.
Mm,
And only thing I can remember about that call is seeing my son's face on that kid as we were working him, and coming home and having an argument with my son, more because of the headspace I was in, not
sure.
necessarily what he was doing, where he needed a loving father. I could not provide that because of the headspace that I was in. My own dealing with the trauma of seeing him in that place, even though that's not where he was.
Yeah.
So those were some really hard times in my relationship with my son that I'm still trying to heal.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, we take, whether we like it or not, we take all those jobs, and it shapes us not only as individuals, but obviously as parents. And I think in some ways, it's actually made me let Aurelia do a little bit more of her own thing. Honestly, like I'm not quite as overbearing protective because I know that like that fall's not going to break her arm or something. Like she'll bump her
Right.
head or get hurt, but if she falls from that height, like she's going to get a little bump and a scratch and a bruise, but she's probably going to learn how to pop back up and go stronger next time if I coach her correctly, right? And so
Right.
I've actually kind of been a little bit more, probably arguably hands off. But one thing that it really has pushed me towards is that I see, even with the work that we do, I see that like I sometimes get frustrated with her. Like if she, like, I'm very much of the, hey, like take control of the situation, take command of the situation. We need to do this and we need to do it now kind of situation. And
Right.
that's not how a 2.5-year-old operates. It doesn't matter. In fact, the more often I say, like, hey, go get your shoes on, the more she pushes back and just like tells me to get the fuck away, quite frankly. Uh,
Well, yeah, these COVID and post-COVID kids are built different. They need to be to survive in today's world. So that's that rebelliousness and that stubbornness is what's going to help them survive in the world today.
it is, and we're trying so hard not to put out her light because it is a strong, independent girl that we wanted, and that's what we've got. And so, one of the things that I think, arguably, that both Olivia and I do very well, and I think it's because of the stuff that we teach in YFFR, but also having been a first responder and just knowing that literally death is around the corner, is to try to be super present and just pay attention to the small things that happen differently every day. Like she is at 2.5 years old, she is different today than she was yesterday. And most parents don't even pay attention or realize that how fast those things are changing in their kid at
Oh,
this moment.
yes. Yeah.
That's all of a sudden they're in the fight. They're in the struggles of the quote unquote terrible twos and the terrible threes. But at this stage, like it's amazing to watch how literally she changes to talk better, like more complete sentences from yesterday to today to tomorrow. And it's just like, and today we noticed that she's now starting to do, like, I don't want to say she's bringing logical reasoning on board, but Olivia shared a tidbit of information with her this morning, said, hey, we're going to have a gentleman named Jay come over to work on our backyard. And that was it. And then Aurelia, I said, hey, after your turtle time, which is her nap time, I said, we're going to go in the backyard and play. And she goes, oh, after Jay's done working? And I'm like, yes. And I didn't tell you about somebody coming to work on the backyard. How do you know his name is Jay? So now all of a sudden, like she's taking conversations from this morning before swimming class with Olivia. I'm
Uh-huh.
saying something, and she's like, oh, those two things must relate to each other. And it's like, when the hell did that come online? Like that didn't happen yesterday. Like, how does that happen? And so to be super present with all of those moments.
Yeah, and luckily we're able as parents, my wife and I, we're the grandparent stage now. So my daughters have kids about that same age as Aurelia, and
Right.
it's really that same thing. So we get to watch it from like a 30,000 foot view, and it is absolutely amazing. It's better than any AI learning out there. Those kids, like you said, from one day to the next, they have morphed those neural pathways. That there's clear land to put those neural pathways in, right?
Right. Yeah. And I've read and researched a little bit too that like in the stage, like 0 to 5, 6 stage or so, they're basically living in the flow state that entire time, which we don't teach flow, unfortunately, anymore. But as you know, like that's the state when we're just absorbing everything and learning and making these connections all the time. And so I can't even imagine just living in that flow state from 0 to 6, but it's like, my God, like it's a thing, like it's real.
Yeah, yeah, a sponge for sure, literally.
Literally. Yeah. Uh, all right, let's lighten the mood. We can't just talk about hard questions. So, um, what's the most hilariously out of control dad moment you've ever had? So, bonus points if it involves poop, meltdown, sleep deprivations. Like there is something that just went completely sideways, that at some point you just like laugh about it now. In the moment, you're probably like, "Oh my God, this is ridiculous." Ridiculous.
No, it's not actually. I mean, there's thousands of them. I
Sure, there.
mean, I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination. You say it's a light question, but the one that first jumped out in my mind was one of those instances that I had with my son during that time that I referred to earlier.
Yeah.
And he was having kind of his meltdown. Um, we've since he's been diagnosed with very high functioning autism. So as an adult, he was diagnosed with autism. So he would be perfectly good at school all day and be wearing his good boy everything. And when he got home was his time to release.
Sure.
And so there was a lot of times where dad and him did not speak the same language. My wife had almost had to interpret what dad was trying to say. But there was one of those times where we just butted heads. And he was going through one of his meltdowns, and I went up. He went up in his room and slammed the door, and I essentially unlocked the door, took it off the hinges, and said, "Nope, you're not going to unlock the door in my house, and I'm going to fix that because I can do that." So I just popped the door off its hinges, and he was there probably for a week or so without a door on his bedroom. So probably not the best decision on dad's part, and probably made things a lot worse. To me, it felt better at the time. It was
Yeah.
totally the wrong approach to take. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but the but the moment in the moment, like you're doing what was best for your kid. Like I don't like locked doors in our house personally. Like it's just we're a family here. I know that she's gonna need her own personal space and that kind of stuff. Um, but it's gonna happen. And the dad, I mean, if we yes, Aurelia frustrates me once in a while. Like I said, she's fire, I'm earth, and so her fire temperament definitely comes through. Um, for those of you that are into the horoscopes or zodiac signs and that kind of stuff. Um, there was I'll share a funny story, and it kind of makes fun of Olivia a little bit here too, just to get to share. So when she was brand new, she would have been 4 or 5 months old. We were in California, and we had driven from San Francisco down to Santa Cruz. We were on our way back from Santa Cruz back up to San Francisco on Highway 1. And I don't know what happened with Aurelia, but she is literally like she's starting to lose her mind in the back seat. And then all of a sudden, like she just starts like projectile vomiting. She's 5 months old.
oh, those
She's 5
cute
months old.
moments. Nothing like it.
And then but she's in the back seat, and all of a sudden, she's like, we're afraid she's gonna like
Aspirate.
this is the firefighter.
Yeah,
Exactly. I'm like,
yeah,
she's gonna choke on this shit and she's gonna die.
yeah.
Like, we gotta get her out of that car seat like right now. So we pull over onto the side of highway on the one and rip her out of her car seat. And I'm trying to pull her out of the car seat and behind us and bring her to the front. As I'm doing that, the projectile vomit is just like, it's like somebody's like, I have a garden hose of vomit just spraying around the rental car. And like this kid is losing her mind and I don't know what to do. And Olivia doesn't really know what to do, but we finally get her calmed down. We're like, well, we can't put her back in the car seat. Like at this point, we've got a half an hour left to drive. So I'm not advocating for this, folks. She's still alive. That's the story ends that she's still alive. And if you're a cop out there, don't post incident arrest us or anything like that. But Olivia decides it's going to be best if she just holds her in her arms for the last half hour rather than trying to stick this 5 months old back in the car seat.
Right.
Well, and everything's fine until we see a cop sitting on the side of the road, California,
Yeah.
on the highway on the side of the road. And Olivia starts freaking out and she's like, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like, just be cool. The cop can't see the baby, like from where they're sitting down into the car. They don't know that the baby's not in the seat. And so, no joke, we get up to the car. She literally like takes Ray, sticks her under the dashboard, and is holding her under the dashboard with one hand, and then like puts her elbow up on the dashboard and looks at me like she's all cool and shit. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like this, now the cop's gonna pull us over because your like arm is on the dashboard and you're talking to me. Like he had no clue the baby was here until you pulled that. And then I don't know. She has a freedom room here. Share one more story real quick because it happened. This is a new thing in our life, and I'm sure every parent goes through this, but we have a monitor in her room because she has a free range bedroom. So we shut her in there. She doesn't necessarily have to take a nap if she doesn't want to, but she's going to be in her room for about an hour and a half at least in the middle of the day just to like decompress a little bit after school. And for her entire life, we've taken like the CSI photos that Ray is training for her next role in CSI. And it's wherever she sleeps on the monitor, we snap a picture because she just passed out in the middle of the room. Or today, she managed to take her pants and her diaper off. And she has this like folding couch in her bedroom. And so she manages to fall asleep underneath her folding couch with just her bare buns up in the air. And we're like, oh my goodness, now we have a sex crimes and a CSI. And so then I'm watching her on the monitor and all of a sudden she wakes up from her nap. And she's not, unfortunately, Ray, you're going to be embarrassed for the rest of your life. She poops in the middle of the floor of her room.
Yeah.
And like that is what it is. She's in that stage where we're trying to potty train and whatnot. But then all of a sudden we realize that she's playing with her poop. Like because she doesn't want it in there. So she's trying to pick it up and like throw it away and get rid of it. And so Olivia's filming something that actually for a life of our story. She's filming. I bust out. I go through the background. She's like, what is going on? I'm like, Ray's playing with her poop and all chaos broke out. And that was today, June 11th, everybody. So you know when we're recording.
Nice.
So okay.
Yes, my oldest has her second son is one of those. So for sure, he's that kid.
Just figuring it out right now. Like she's got time.
Yeah.
She's got time. But, okay, this one's what's something your kid has taught you that no training, nor academy, nor job ever will or could?
Pretty much that love is what really matters. That it really is what it boils down to. And that's going to sound kind of hippie and new age of me or whatever, but love is the answer to any problem. I love the innocence of children, and they know that the people they can trust when they're hurting the most, regardless of whatever angry situation or whatever has happened. They know that the people that care about them the most are going to take care of them when things are hurting. And I know that's hippie-ish and super deep, but that's where Mark is at now in life. Love is the answer. That's the best thing I can tell you. I mean,
well, I don't think it's hippie-ish or new ages or whatever age at all, because I'm going to say something very, very similar is that kids always lead with love. There's no malintent in anything that they do. Like when she's frustrated, she's not frustrated. She might be frustrated at the situation, but it's not me. She's frustrated that I'm making her put shoes on, and as we get older, we get jaded, we get cynical, we get skeptical. We start to think that everybody's out to get us or the world's fucked and it's just a screwed up place. But if you look at it through the lens of those little kids, of those kids, there's nothing there but love in their eyes. There's nothing but love. And I think honestly, Mark, I think that's a reminder to all of us that that's how we all came out at one point. We all started it with that lens of genuine curiosity, love, hope, inspiration, curious, wonderment. Like that's how we all started out.
It's one of the most healing things to me is to hold a sleeping baby in your arms. I mean, it is such a healing moment to have that physical contact of a child that knows that they're secure in their parents' arms or a loved one's arms. There's nothing like it.
No. And we can talk about the brotherhood and that kind of stuff all as long as the day is long and how much it either exists or doesn't exist or is making a comeback or whatnot. But none of that is the love of a kid. And I'll be honest, I didn't get it until I had one. Like I was the guy, quite frankly, that if somebody else handed me their kid, I'd be like, nope, and pass it back. Like I was not interested. But now that she yes, one of the things that I miss the most is exactly that, dude. Is just being able to sleep on the couch and have her sleep on my chest, because it is that connection. And even now, while she's trying to strike her independence at 2.5 years old, it's the moments where she realizes she's still safe to snuggle up with mama and papa and know that we still got her back as she's trying to exert her dominance over us. So.
And that's quite frankly, that's one of the things I love most about the firehouse is when the guys, young kids come running to the firehouse and they're like, "Hey, Cap," and they run up and they give me a hug and all this other kind of stuff. And it's kind of a term of endearment now. That's what my grandkids call me is Cap. So, yeah, as much as I don't want to define myself as being a firefighter, the seeds that were planted of those little kid voices running into the firehouse and giving me a hug when they get there that aren't even mine, calling me Cap. I was like, that's what my grandkids are going to call me. So
exactly. Yeah, and honestly, that's one of my biggest regrets is the fact that she won't have been raised in a firehouse at all. Like she knows because of pictures and that kind of stuff, or she will because people say, "Oh, your dad used to ride the fire truck." But in theory, she could grow up her entire life and not even know that I was a firefighter, minus the trauma that I've imprinted upon her DNA and that kind of stuff.
exactly.
But we don't need. This isn't a podcast about epigenetics. But honestly, that's one of the that is a bit. Regret's probably not the right word, not the right emotion. But it's something that I'm sad that she's going to miss out on, honestly. Like coming to the firehouse and having dinners and that kind of stuff. But we'll find a way to get her around it. We're around enough people. I bet she'll figure it out sooner or later.
Yeah, she's got a lot of godfathers that are firefighters. So.
That's right. That's right. All right. This one could get a little bit emotional on us, man.
You know me, I have a hard time with emotions. I don't share them too often.
No. So, what legacy do you hope your kid remembers? Not just about you as the firefighter, you as Cap, but about you as their dad, you as their father.
This answer is going to sound a little bit morbid, but it's kind of the things I think about running through my head. And there's something about cemeteries that intrigue me. Just the sacredness and the place it is of. We see so much death in our careers.
Right.
So I've looked at a lot of headstones, and I often think to myself, what words do I want on my headstone so that somebody that has never known me, what words do I want them to know me by that define me? And it boils down to 2 words. He cared. Service is one of my ultimate healing traits that I personally have, sometimes to a fault, where I serve others above serving myself. And I want them to realize and know that when the crap's hitting the fan, Dad's always there to help, regardless if they're a stranger or whoever it is. I remember one instance that I didn't even know my daughter was paying attention at the time. I was on the way to coach a class at a CrossFit gym. quite a few years ago, and I noticed a guy walking down the side of the street not wearing any shoes, and looked like he'd just been out of a hospital. He had like the EKG lead. You know how they have the residue from the EKG leads on him. He
Right.
didn't have his shirt off, walking down the street, and he was right by a gas station. I pulled in and I talked to the guy just for 5, 10 minutes, see what he needed. Took him to the gas station, bought him some food, and happened to have a spare pair of shoes in the trunk in my car. And went and I gave him a pair of shoes so that he wasn't walking barefoot in the Georgia heat down the hot asphalt or the hot sidewalk. And went on to coach my class at CrossFit. And she was in the car with me, and I didn't even think anything of it
Sure.
till a couple of years later. She was sharing something in a youth group at church, and she shared that experience, how much that impressed her, that her dad cared that much about humanity and how much she learned from that. So they're always watching.
Yeah. Marc, you're leaving that legacy on everybody you touch. So I hope you see and or feel that it is imparted and impacted on your kids as well. But there's not a person you touch that doesn't realize that you don't care about them. I mean, you're an inspirational figure in our household and to our family, and it's because of what you just said, because you care so deeply about those that you touch and the people you don't even know, like the gentleman walking down the street without the shoes. So, yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I'm just reading your shirt. It says "Be a better human," and I don't know the context of it, but it also strives to that. Like, dude, you are one of the best men I have ever met, and so it's not by accident. I keep calling you back and saying, "Hey, I need you back on my show. I need you back to talk and just to hang out and chat." I do it for selfish reasons too, because I now get to talk with Marc for 45 minutes, which is a big deal to me. So,
Well, it's a big deal to me too. You and Ollie mean the world to me.
yeah, no, I appreciate it.
You've been a huge part of my healing process and shown a lot of belief and love in who I am as a person. And it's helped me see it myself. So thank you for being part of that journey.
Yeah, of course, brother. So this is kind of, I'll be honest, like, what legacy do I hope Aurelia remembers me by? Um, it's hard because like right now, honestly, like I'm there for her at every turn. And I'm still honestly like this is the bit of vulnerability and honesty is like I don't know what legacy I hope she has that I leave on her yet. Because I'm still unfortunate, like truly in the just trying to get her not to pick up her poop in her bedroom. But
that's a life skill. More than you think about. That's a huge life skill.
But no, but honestly, what I really, really do want her to recall is that hopefully I'm sharing her how to regulate as a father. Because when I like in that moment, it would be very easy to get super frustrated and go in and be like, "What the hell are you doing, kid?" and lose your mind and that kind of stuff. But instead, it's meet her, open the door, meet her where she's at, go down to her level, say, "Hey, like I notice this is what's going on," and while I know you're trying to get rid of it, we can't do that, and just trying to be more basically lead a legacy of regulation, I guess is what I want her to show is that you can feel all the feelings and be regulated about it at the same time. And so that's something I'm really working on at the moment. And sometimes I win and sometimes I lose in the moment because we're all humans, but more often than not, I hope I leave that legacy of feeling yet regulation. So that's where I'm at today as of 2025. If we do the same episode next year when she's 3.5 years old, it may be a very different legacy that I hope to leave on her. But but that's what I'm doing today. So
Well, I guarantee you're great parents. I know without a doubt that you are pouring everything that you have in your toolbox into her and creating that strong foundation to build
yeah,
her life on. So
no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Father's Day's now I probably waited too long to share this, but I'm gonna say it here towards the end as our meeting's about to finish up on us. But Father's Day can also be a really hard day for people. like we've talked about like where we're at as men and with our kids and that kind of stuff. But as somebody who's gone through a hell of a fertility journey and have my kid, I just want to make sure that people are seen and heard that like you can be a father in many ways without actually having the physical aspect of a kid. Um, and for those of you that Father's Day is a hard day because you didn't have a loving father, or you didn't have somebody in your life like that, I just want to make sure that those people are seen too, uh, as we turn the corner to the end. Because Father's Day, just like Mother's Day, both those days can be very layered and difficult for a whole host of reasons. And I just feel compelled to say that.
No, I 100% agree with that. I'm not one of those Hallmark holiday people. I don't do the Valentine's Day thing. I try to love every day. Mother's Day, whatever, anniversaries. I try to show my wife that I love her every day and I don't need a special day to do it.
Right.
So to have this special conversation about fathers and the importance of the impact of the male figure in people's lives. I think that's where society is going wrong as we try to merge the genders and do all this. And I'm not going to go down those political roles, but the devil knows that when you take away a positive male influence out of people's lives, that's when things start going downhill. And I've been blessed with a phenomenal father. The apple does not fall far from the tree, and I've learned so much from him. Um, Without him even trying to teach me. He was my Boy Scout master, and he was a school teacher. And that's the one thing I've learned from my parents is the person who I am is directly attributed to the way they live their lives. And it's not that they sat down and we talked about it every day.
Yeah.
It was that simple observation of this is just how you treat people. And so you don't have to have the same genes and the same blood to be a father or a positive influence on anybody.
No,
And you can find that influence if you do not have a good relationship with your genetic father.
yep.
There are positive father figures out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm actually to that exact point. I'm actually doing a speaking role at an event later this fall here in Albuquerque called Brotherhood Loving Out Loud, and it was a organization started by a community member here who believes that one of the reasons that this community is suffering the way it is because of a lack of strong male figures in the lives of the young men in particular of our community. And so they find not so great male influences that then lead to all kinds of issues. And so his whole point is like we as men can lead the next generation by talking about love out loud to each other. And I want to be part of that, quite frankly, because
Here. Yes, sign me up.
so, right? Yeah, exactly. So, which is honestly a great spot to end an episode about being a father. And so, as I join and fill in and get to know these young men in our community and this through this event, I only hope that at some point a young man looks up to me someday and says, "Hey, you know what? You were the father that I never had." So that's because that means we're making a difference on the next generation down.
That's a wonderful legacy to leave. That's people are worried about leaving their mark on society. And I know a lot of people struggle with that as they leave their public safety career as far as what to identify as not the uniform with a badge on. And it's about the foundation and the roots and the trees you plant. You're never going to know, you're never going to sit under the shade of a tree that you planted. But you will impact so many lives that you will never have any knowledge of. And my dad was that. He was a school teacher in some pretty underprivileged communities. And still to this day, my siblings will run into people that were students of his and they ask about dad and talk about
Yeah.
The positive influence he was in their lives. So
Yeah. That's the legacy, right? So
yeah,
the ripple effect is not just with our kids, but it's with for folks like you and me, it's not just our kids, it's our communities, it's far beyond we ever know. I mean, you're leaving a legacy with the work you're doing right now. Down there, you're going to impact a life that you have no idea. And that's powerful, man. And that's why I love sharing time and selfishly keep putting you back on my calendar to talk with you for 30 to 45 minutes at a time. So,
and that's why I carve out time for you when I'm down here doing a special task. It was well worth it. There was no doubt in my mind when you asked. Undoubtedly, yes. We'll carve out time. We'll make it happen. So,
right on, man. As always, it's a pleasure talking to you, Mark. Stay safe the last couple of days down in Mexico. Swing that hammer, pound those nails. It's a good thing I'm not there because we have a whole bunch of black thumbs because I can't. That's one trait that I never, one skill I never mastered.
Trust me, I'm not a skilled laborer by any stretch of the imagination.
But thank you, sir. I appreciate it. We'll have you back on and we'll get another episode with you, Jeremy, and myself talking about whatever the hell we come up with at some point. So
yeah, I look forward to it, definitely.
Hey, before we go, I want to remind you that training your mental and physical health is incredibly important, especially for those working in high-stress jobs like first responders.
And if you're interested in learning more about yoga for first responders, visit yogaforfirstresponders.org for our on-demand training app, online course platform, in-person training, and more.
Like this podcast, subscribe, and give us a great review. We are so happy to have you part of the YFFR mission.